Hey everyone, we still have a couple of minutes, probably 8 more minutes. So just gonna wait for people to join in. And people who have already joined in, well, thank you so much. Let me see over here. You can go ahead and introduce yourself if you have already joined in. Hopefully you can also see my screen. I know that last time we had that issue, but hopefully you'll be able to see my screen and everything. That's good. All right. Okay, let's see. Every time it's having some issues. Now the video capture is not working. So you can see my screen, but not the video. Audio, Mac OS. Not really sure what's going on with the video capture now. Every time there's something. Oh boy. Okay, let's see. Turn it off, turn it back on again. Nothing. The camera is not turning on. Okay. Video capture. Can't really delete it. Testing. Okay. Santa Cruz, California. Hey Edward, how are you doing? I'm still trying to figure out. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, there we go. Probably now. All right. Still, I don't see the video capture working. Oh, now it's gone. That is the weirdest thing ever. Let's see. Oh boy. Okay, can we add that? How do I even add the video capture? I don't even know. Video capture, remove it, and then we'll add a video capture. That is fine. Studio display. Yes, please. Okay, now you can see me, but you cannot see. Man. Might be. Okay. So now you can see the Mac screen, but you cannot see me. Okay, so that's another issue. I have no idea. Start virtual camera? What is that? I don't even know what that means, start virtual camera. Video capture. Cannot really add it like that. Hello everyone, well thanks for joining. I'm still trying to figure out this. I can never figure these things out. So there we go. It does allow you to, I'm not sure how to even use video capture. Like, what is this? Mac screen. Let me see. Oops. Maybe somebody can figure it out. Okay. All right. Anybody can figure out, let me know. I mean, I have this video capture thing over here, but I don't know what that is. This is audio mixture. And it's not like the first time. Yeah, I know. It's just, I have no idea. Mac screen capture, video capture. Video capture is going on right now, but audio mixture? I don't know what that means. Audio? What does that mean, audio mixture? Sources is this. If I look at the properties, I can see all the stuff. It's just, I can only display one at a time. I don't even know what happened now. Okay, so audio, and then you have the Mac OS audio mixture. I have no idea. I never changed anything. I just launched this. Okay, so I guess you won't be able to probably see my face. So the only thing you can see is this, and I have no idea how to do that now. They keep changing it. Every week it's like different. Every week they're just going through some weird settings. So I have no idea. It's like every week we're having the same issue. Video capture, I have no idea how to do video capture. Start virtual camera, what is that? Filter, add a source. I have no idea. That's okay, I guess. I mean, unless someone can figure out, let me know. So here is our current setup. If I use these buttons, then I can switch to a different thing over here, but I don't know how the video capture will work. Usually it is capturing video, but I can only do one at a time. Anyone has any ideas? We run into this situation every single week. They keep changing these things. I have no idea what's going on. All right. If I select Mac OS, on the top, then it shows Mac OS screen, my Mac screen, and remove filter group selected items. I don't know if I want to do that. Video capture, macOS capture, display capture. Last time it was working. This time, not working. Audio mixture, that's for audio. So what is macOS screen doing over there? So I have no idea. Sources. What is this? Still trying to figure out how to project my video camera. Camera is on, but I can only switch to one or the other thing. See that? I can only switch to this one. I can switch to the audio. I can switch to the Mac screen on the top, but I'm not able to switch to both the video and the other thing. All right. I have absolutely no idea on these things work. Anyone has any idea what I'm doing wrong over here? I just want to make sure that my Mac screen is displayed, but my video camera is also displayed. But if it doesn't work, then we'll just move forward. Properties, filter. I guess I can click these two things. Okay, I can click these two things and I can probably say group select. No, I don't think I want to do group selected items. I don't know what that is. Well, anyway, you know what? We'll just show the Mac screen because that's more important, obviously, than my video camera. So we'll start with this. And we'll try to figure out with this really complicated interface eventually that what we need to do. All right. Well, welcome everyone. You won't be able to see my face because again there's something wrong with OBS, not able to project two things at the same time. But welcome to MV pattern in SwiftUI. And we will be discussing the MV pattern, which I also like to call it as a built-in pattern, all right, in SwiftUI. And if you do have any questions, you can always ask the questions in the chat. So I'm going to talk about what exactly is MV pattern and how we can actually use it. So let me go ahead and everyone can see my screen. I think you should be able to see a screen at least. So that should be okay. All right. There we go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Okay. But just to confirm, everyone can see my screen, right? This is the Xcode. Everyone can see Xcode. If you can see Xcode, you can just type it out something in the chat, so I know that you can see Xcode. Yes, I can see the screen. Okay, that's good. All right. So what exactly is the MV pattern? All right. In a YouTube live screen or video call, follow these steps. Setting up a YouTube live streaming in YouTube, use your Google account. Yeah, I've already done all of that. I mean, we are in the live streaming mode, so not sure what's going on over there. But anyway, we'll just move on from there to something else. So let me go ahead and first show you one of the articles that I wrote, and then we can dive into Kodo, obviously. All right. Okay. So this is a picture from, this is an image from Apple in one of those 2020 talk, actually, Data Essentials in SwiftUI. This is a really interesting picture, as what they're showing you over here is that these different views, these are the different views, they are talking to some sort of a layer, right? And that layer then gives you access to the data model. These are structs. So these data models are structs or value types. And if we go further on, I have created more of these diagrams in this, that I like to call these things an aggregate model, aggregate root, or even a some sort of an aggregate store. So instead of, the whole idea is that instead of creating your view models because you have added a new screen, instead of doing that, we can actually create a view model based on, or a store or a service based on the data that it will provide. All right. So let's take a look at this example in a much nicer way. Let's say that we have this content view. All right. And the content view basically works with products. So let's go ahead and change this name. Let's go ahead and call it product list screen. There we go. I mean, I should probably do it in a refactoring mode. Product list screen. All right. Now, if you were using the MVVM approach, what would you do? You will create a product list view model. Yeah, that's what you're going to do, right? What if I had another screen over here? Add product screen. Var body. What you would do? You would create add product view model. So this means that every single screen that you're adding, you are adding a view model for that. Well, in a typical application, you can have 20, 30, 50, different screens. Does that mean that you will end up with so many different view models, right? That's a interesting part to consider for these situations. Product screen, add product screen and the product list screen, they work with products. They're only interested in products, or they change the products, or they do something with the product itself. So when they are only using products, why do we need so many different view models? We can probably create a single observable object, a single source of truth, which can be used to populate these things. So let me actually give you a little bit more context for this. All right. So in the MV pattern, what actually ends up happening is you don't create separate view models. Like, you're not going to create a product list view model, add product view model, product this is really what people are doing these days. Detail, view, model, something else, product related view model. How about instead of doing that, we create an observable object, but that's not for the screen, that's because we are exposing different kind of data. All right. Let me actually, hold on a second. Let me actually do one thing. Let's see. Hold on. Sorry about that. Just going to see if I can use FaceTime. That would be so weird, but oh my God. I hate this new interface. It's so bad. Even with FaceTime, I can't figure it out. All right. Trying to see how do I hide all these things. All right. Let's see over here. See, now the FaceTime garbage is hiding. Well, FaceTime will be hidden anyway. So anyway, forget about FaceTime now. That's so stupid. All right, let's see, where to go? Here it is. All right. Yeah, can really use FaceTime also. I was just trying to see if I can actually use something. All right. So the question is a data manager which holds the context to get and store product data. Well, yeah, you can use data manager, you can use store, you can use service. These are the different things. Sometimes what people do is like they create these things like view models and then they inject it into the environment, or they share the view models between different screens. Well, that's not the purpose of the view model per se. View model is a one-to-one relationship with the screen. So if you're sharing your view model, you're already on the wrong foot or wrong track. So let me show you what I mean actually. All right. I'm going to create something called, let's start with a simple one. I'm going to just call it Platzi store. All right. What is Platzi? Well, that will be the fake API that we'll be using. If I go over here and say fake API, there we go. And we'll get to the fake API and we can get these products. All right. So Platzi store will be the only observable object in your application. Well, when you're starting out. If you're a big app with a lot of different bounded contexts, then you can start dividing it. But when you start your app really nice and simple, keeping it simple, maybe your app is not going to be not that huge, maybe small or even medium-sized app, we can actually start with whatever store. I mean, the name is not important. I'm just calling it Platzi store because, well, I'm going to be using Platzi store API. Okay. So this will be the only observable object that will be in my application. We need some sort of a way to get those items, right? So we can actually create HTTP client and load or fetch products. And it's going to return us async throws. It's going to return us product. And we're going to go and get the product from somewhere. Product. And I'll show you that this is a much easier way of doing things than creating view models after view models. All right, so start, title, description probably. Okay, so that is our product, and this is going to return our product. The fetch products is going to return some products. What's going on over here? Oh, identifiable. I think we have the ID property, which is integer. Okay, and over here we can make the call and get the products, right? So URL session.shared.data task with a URL. URL can be this one probably, and this is going to give us data. What is it? Data and response. Data and response. We don't care about the response. And then we can use JSON decoder.decode to the product.self data and try and then return. Probably this will work, right? So this is our HTTP client. Now HTTP client over here is completely stateless, meaning it's not really going to manage the state. It's just going to get the data and return it. It can be post, it can be get. And if you haven't seen the last live stream, I talked about the container pattern. in container pattern, you can actually directly access HTTP client in your SwiftUI views. So that is perfectly fine depending on the app that you're working on. But in this case, we're going to be passing in the dependency. There we go. And we will have a function over here, load products, async throws, and it's going to use HTTP client.fetch products. It's going to fetch the products and assign it to some sort of a thing over here. So we can say products, product, there we go. And product is a published property over here, right? Products is a published property. There we go. So it can become as simple as this. The question is, add the full course of Superbase and skip on Udemy. Yeah, those courses are available on my website, azamsharp.school. I think some part of the course is also available on Udemy. But if you want a complete course, it will be on azamsharp.school. All right. Okay, so Platzi store, you can see that we have a load products over here. It loads the products, it assigns the products to the products array. And this now can be used by our different views, like the product list screen as well as the add product screen. How do we use it? Well, there are many different ways of using it. One of the ways that I probably use it is I just inject it. I just inject it in the environment and I just try to access it in the environment. I mean in the view itself. Environment, Platzi store.self, private var, and you can say store. And then you can just use it. All right, so let me actually show you. It becomes so simple. What I've seen is that when you start fighting with SwiftUI, then everything becomes very difficult. But when you start just accepting that there is a particular way to do SwiftUI, then everything will start making more sense. All right, there we go. We got our products being displayed. All right. So one thing you will note about this particular technique is that I did not create product list view model. I did not create add product view model. I did not create 10 other view models that are dealing with the product. I just created one source of truth, Platzi store, which can manage the entire state of the application, whether it is related to the product or if it is related to categories. I mean, there are a lot of other things that are going on over here, right? In the Platzi store, you can see that you can have categories, you can have users, you can have all of the locations, you can have locations. I mean, if you want to get locations, you can do that. All right. Now, if I wanted to do locations, what will I do using this particular approach? Well, I'll simply go to Platzi store, locations, location. There we go. Nice. I mean, I don't really have a location, but you get the idea. What about categories? Categories, categories, category. I don't think I have a category, so I'll just call it category. There we go. Nice and simple. All right. And the good thing about this is once it is injected into your root of the application. Okay, so let's see over here. Another question. Changes have to go to Platzi and back to show. Data is not local. I don't know what that means. Changes have to go to Platzi. You mean like adding something? I think if you're adding something, then we have to implement this part. Now, one of the things that you must note over here is the source of truth is not the Platzi. I mean, this has to be, obviously updated. The real source of truth is the server. All right, the server is going to be reflected in our Platzi store. Well, not the whole server, obviously. I mean, if you have 10,000 products, then the Platzi store will not be populating 10,000 products over here, but it will only populate the products that we actually need. All right. So if you want to populate like 10 products or 20 products, then that's the only products it should be fetching. So the whole idea of the Platzi store is to provide the data to the view, to the screen, so that it can be presented. All right. Now, what about adding? I think that's John has asked a question. What about adding? Right? How do we do that? All right. Let's see over here. Okay. Well, how do we add? Well, first of all, we need to find out, well, where is the URL? So let's go to products. Getting a single product, creating a product. Okay, there we go. See that? So we need some way to create a product with a post, and we'll be able to do this. So usually in these cases, what you end up doing is you create kind of like a DTO that you can use. All right. So what I can do is I can go over here and I can create product, and this will be encodable, and it will have all of these properties, like the title, because we need all of these properties or else the product will not be created. Price of the product, which is what, integer or double, I don't know, one of those. And then we have the description, and then we have a category ID, which is also integer, and then we also have images. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you need to apparently create a product. There we go. All right. Okay, so we have the create product, and how do we create a product? Well, we have to implement over here create product async throws, and it is going to return you something, like probably it's going to return you a product. After creating a product, it may return you a product itself. Now, in order to create a product, we have to perform a post request. Okay. Now we can pass something over here. You can pass individual properties over here if you want to, or you can actually pass the create product object. That is also fine. I think that that kind of is based on your preference. We can check out kind of like one of them and see what happens. So you can pass the create product over here like a DTO, or you can pass individual properties. Completely up to you. All right. So if I have to pass in individual properties, I think it will be like title, price, which is integer. What's the other thing? I think it's already trying to add it for me. There we go. Okay. So we can pass on these things. Based on these things, we can go ahead and create the product, which you can see Apple Intelligence is kind of helping me out over here. There we go. It created a product. And what else we need? Well, we need the URL also. URL equals to, what's the URL to add a product? Well, it's the same one, but it's just with post. There we go. And we will create a request, URL request, passing in the URL, make it var, because we probably have to change it. HTTP method will be post request dot, what is it, add header field, add value. Value will be, what is that over here? Application JSON. And header field will be content type, probably content type. And the most important thing will be the body, HTTP body, try JSON encoder dot encode the value, which is the create product. This one, create product. So we probably have to create the product a little bit before that. All right. Okay. Next, so if you're creating the product, the next thing what you will do? The next thing you will do is you will perform the request. So URL session dot shared dot data task for request. So this is going to perform the request. It's going to give us the data and the response. Try await. Okay. And we'll be able to grab the product and then return the product. I don't know what it actually returns. Let's see. Yeah, the response is returned like all of this. So we can probably just, just grab a couple of these different things. I think we can just use the title and the description. So that's why I'm mapping it back to our product itself. Okay, what's going on over here? Cannot convert publisher to the something type. Okay, maybe I'm writing it incorrectly. URL session.shared.data for request, and this will be not URL, request. So this is what the create product function will look like. Now this might have some issues, and we'll see later on, but this function will be invoked inside the HTTP client. Now adding the product, we will also have to update add product over here, and either we can pass in, we can pass in the whole thing. It's kind of up to you, like you will have to pass in something over there, and then we can inject that. All right. Once this adds a product, it's not really going to return the product. It's going to update, it's going to get the product, and it's going to update our products array. Why? Well, we have to make sure that over here you can throw an exception. I'm just returning, I guess, over here, but probably you should throw an exception over here. All right. So this is how you will make sure that when a product is added on the server, you are also syncing the changes on your observable object. Okay. And the good thing about this particular approach is that inside the add product screen, you should be able to access the Platzi store. There we go. And if you can access Platzi store, then you can actually add a product. So let's say that if there was a button over here, add product, and you will say store.add product, you will pass in all these different things like the title and the price, whatever the price is, $20, and the description and the category ID and the images array, and it's going to add a product. Obviously it has to be try and await and all that stuff, and it's going to update the state, meaning this one. And once it updates the products, everywhere where you have used the products, like over here in the product list screen, will automatically get updated. I think that's a really nice way of making sure that the data is actually synced correctly. All right, I'm going to stop here and see if you have any questions. Any questions, anyone? If you have any question, you can type it in the chat. All right. Okay, let's see. Product, DTO. Okay. Usually the view model is also used to contain business logic. In that case, where should the business logic go? If you have any business logic, which I don't in this case, because most of the business logic is on the server, but if I have any business logic, then I can go ahead and implement it in the Platzi store. All right. Now, keeping in mind that a lot of iOS developers are confused about business logic versus presentation logic. They are completely different things. A lot of developers, iOS developers especially, they think that every single thing is a business logic. No, every single thing is not a business logic. If I had to go ahead and create, let me actually go to ChatGPT first So just to give you a little bit of idea, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if it can actually create some sort of view for me for this. Let's see, update this view to add what? Add this. I mean, it's going to be looking crazy, but what I want to show you is there's a very big difference between a presentation logic and business logic. Okay? What is this? Why does it say product view? Okay. Let's call this add product screen. Call it add product screen. Okay. So what I'm trying to show you now is the difference between presentation logic and business logic. Okay. Save product. I'm just trying to figure out where is all the code is doing. Yeah, see, it's just trying to be smart. I don't like when ChatGPT is trying to be smart. I never talked about anything about saving a product. Okay, forget ChatGPT. It's trying to be smart. All right. So let's view this. Let's view our add product screen. All right. And we'll, oh boy, you can see how good our Xcode is. What's going on? Why? Oh, that's because I didn't update that. Okay, there we go. Environment object, plot C store HTTP client. There we go. Now it will be happy probably. Okay. Add product screen. Okay. So presentation logic is all the logic that is for presentation for your UI. What does it include? Well, it includes validation. All right. So if you have any validation that you're going on, and I'm going to go take give you an example with a very simple example. Let's say that you are entering a title in a text box. So let me go ahead and add a text field. Title and title. Okay. So we have a text field. I know it's kind of not visible. Text field style dot rounded. Okay. So if you have a text field over here, and you want to validate the text field, then you can create this presentation logic right inside your view. And that is perfectly fine. And I think that's most of the iOS developers are kind of like scared of doing for some weird reason. All right. So if it is not empty, and this is not the correct way again, because I think you also have to account for spaces and all that the person is putting, right? So I'm just making it really easy right now. I mean, we're just trying to understand the concept. Okay. Now, so these kind of things that are acting on your user interface, on your UI, then you can actually use this. Is it more suitable to use MV pattern in Swift Data Project? That's another great question. Like, should we use MV pattern in Swift Data Project? If you're working with Swift Data Project, then I don't really create stores and things like that. Not most of the time. If you're working with Swift Data, then I've written quite a long article on Swift Data, this one. And in that, I will talk about that how it is a little bit different from MV pattern. I think if you're just using plain Swift data, then you're going to use a variation of active record pattern. Active record pattern is actually very common in Ruby on Rails application. So you will use some sort of a variation of that. So in other words, if you are using Swift data, then the logic, the business logic, can go directly inside your model. All right, you don't have to create a view models and all those things. I'm going to go ahead and share this article of Swift data. So you can see that with the different kind of application, your architecture can change. Just like right now I'm using, or at least what I call this MV pattern. Sometimes when people hear the name MV pattern, they think that oh, everything inside the view. We're just writing business logic inside the view. Well, we're not. This is not business logic, right? Okay. Let's say that you think this is a business logic. If for people who are there, all every one of you who are watching this, okay, let's just say that you think this is business logic. Okay, I have a question for you. What I'm about to write, is that business logic? I'm going to write it in HTML. HTML. All right. If I can type. Let's do placeholder also, if it can help me out. No, it's not going to help me out. Okay, forget that. Okay. Is this business logic? I mean, this is HTML, by the way. It's not Swift. Is this business logic? I mean, we do this all the time in our HTML when you're building web pages, right? I mean, if this is business logic, then I think what I'm about to write is, this should also be business logic then, right? Required, and maybe we can actually pass in a pattern also. So if this is not a business logic, why this is business logic then? Why? Because we're writing in Swift and everything in Swift is business logic? That's not a good excuse, right? The UI validation is not business logic. All right? And what people have been doing in iOS community is that they think this is business logic, and then that is the reason they create their view models. But keeping in mind that this is not business logic. All right? Now the ultimate question comes. Well, okay, let's say this is presentation logic, which it is. How do we test it? Right? How do we test this out? Well, most of the time, the logic which I have seen is quite simple, that I don't really write unit tests for it individually. I write end-to-end test, and during my end-to-end test testing, it gets tested in a passive way, which means that I'm not going to write a separate test for each field, but these things, these kind of logical parts which are very small, you can test it using end-to-end tests, not by writing separate end-to-end tests for every single presentation logic, but writing a very long end-to-end test where you can actually put it somewhere. Question is, but ideally we would encapsulate the validation logic into a component for reuse. Reuse for what? If you have add product screen over here, do you have 10 other add product screen? If you have one login screen, if I have a login screen over here, login screen, I mean, how many login screen do you have in your app that you want to encapsulate the logic so that you can reuse? How many login screen does the person can have? How many registration screen do you have in your app? There you go. John is actually right. If you want to test this out, you can always perform an extension on the string and then write is empty something, not that many. You should probably have one login screen, right? You shouldn't be having like 30 different login screens that you want to reuse the code. If you do want to reuse the code, as John is saying, you can always extend this out and add something, like if I want to say and title is email, this kind of things. And how do you write the test? You write the test on the email. Unit test on the email. That's perfectly fine if you want to do that. Sometimes what happens is that the presentation thing that you're doing over here for the UI does become a little bit complicated. It does. All right. So if that is the case, which is rare, but if that is the case, you can always extract it out into a struct and do that. All right. Savage Dirk is saying, with an enterprise application, we use Swift data that gets populated from server data that allows us to support a disconnect mode due to environment issues with Wi-Fi. Hybrid is good. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I mean, You can use task.detach, I guess, to fire and forget, get the data, populate it in Swift data. And those services that you're talking about, Savage, Dirk, for downloading the data, you should probably create a separate service, right? Downloader. This will download the data and give it to Swift data to insert. All right, so these kind of things you would do that. Another question is, what form would formatting the price to show currencies be presentation logic or business logic? So formatting the price to show different currencies will be presentation logic. And if you want to show the price, you should probably be using, let me actually go ahead and, there's a lot of errors coming up over here. You should be using those fields that are already available. Let me actually see, there are fields available in over here. Like if I say price equals to 35 point whatever, in the text field, I think you can do that. In the text field, you can say price and format. Was it not format? Okay, something, I'm missing probably something, but USD. Okay, price is double. One of the text modifier, I always forget, like one of the text modifier actually allows you to pass that. Okay. So I'm not sure. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, there is a way to do that. I'm just forgetting it. Like what exactly, which overload function do I have to use? I don't remember. I thought it was value. It's not a value. Okay, something, And so the text modifier or the text view does contain the format modifier, and you can actually format it to the currency, and I think you could just say formatted. Okay. Let's see over here. Okay. Yeah, I think it's formatted also, but I don't remember now. But I think it's like price.formatted. Yeah, price.formatted. Well, I guess it's not in the currency, but you'll get the idea. I think you can send in the currency code, USD. There we go. See that? Obviously, you're not going to pass a USD over here, because not everything is in dollars. So you can actually do this in a way that it takes a locale. All right. Validation, text line limit, range limits, and may other be used in the app. Yeah. So other way to validation, if you are trying to perform these validation, one of the other things that I have covered, I think this is a different article for validation. Yeah, this one. Let me actually give you the link to this one. In the very bottom of it's a long article. In the very bottom of the article, I talk about creating these validation helpers. See that? Let me actually show you the usage. So I thought there was this one. See that? So over here you can create these validation attributes, or whatever you want to call them, like a property wrappers, and you can put them on your properties, and they can validate also. So this is like, if you're building like a reusable component or a reusable library so that the other people can actually use this, then definitely that will be a good way to do it. So it looks actually nice, you can see, and then you can just validate it. All right. So that can also work. That is perfectly fine too. All right. So once again, the view, if you have a view, and if that view has some sort of a presentation logic can be validation, it can be formatting, it can be, sometimes it can even be taking the domain model and flattening it out so that it can be displayed on the screen. Sometimes it can be that too. All right. So all of those things can be done inside the view itself. Now, usually I spend the time in writing tests for the domain and the business rules and end-to-end test. I don't go out of my way unless it's a very specific scenario. to write tests for presentation logic. Unless it's very complicated, then I would write those tests. Because you have certain amount of time, and in that time, you can only, do, couple of things. I don't know why it's, how do I even, I don't, it's just so, yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea how to show the video and all that. All right. So yeah, so try out the MV pattern. Now, one of the things that keep in mind over here is that we started and we only had one Platzi store. So we did not created observable objects because we added 30 different screens. If all those 30 different screens are, working with locations and products and categories, then it's fine. I mean, we can just use Platzi store. Yes, this file can become much bigger, but who cares? I mean, what's the problem with a file getting bigger? As long as it is functioning in a very specific way. All right. So another question is, what could be an example of a business logic in this context? So in this particular context, I don't have any example of a business logic. And the reason is that everything is done on the server. But if you go back and look at the Swift data architecture, so I'll show you an example of Swift data. Okay, so this is the business logic, this part. The business logic over here says that if you are adding a budget, like say that you are adding a budget with, groceries, then two budgets cannot have the same name. That is a business rule. That is a business logic. And that business logic will go right in the model itself. Okay. Now, if business logic, if we're talking about the business logic from point of view of this app, the Platzi store, let's say that if we have locations, I mean, it does provide you with locations, right? Locations. So we download all the locations, and then you just have to do some calculation to find out that which location is nearer to your location, and then sort them in that particular way, so that you start with the nearest location, then you go to the further location, and so on. That is a business logic. That can go inside Platzi store. All right. Savage is saying that adding view modifier will let you validate and highlight view for user to address. Yes. So Vakas is saying, so does that mean in your example we can have multiple stores? Otherwise, if we only keep one store, it sounds more like Redux. Well, yeah, it does kind of sound like Redux because this is using a global store. You are free to add your stores, as many stores as you like, but you have to keep in mind that why, you have to have a reason as to why you added stores. So let me actually go back to my long article which I wrote, this one, because it does talk about multiple stores. I call it multiple aggregate models, but it's the same thing. If we scroll down over here, and I'll give you a diagram also. There we go, that's the diagram. See that? So let's say that if you're building a large application for e-commerce application, and those can be very large, right? So catalog, store, inventory, store, ordering, store, shipping, store, 4 stores. All right. And each of these stores will manage their own bounded context. The catalog store will manage everything to the catalog, whatever is in the catalog. Inventory store will manage all the stuff related to the inventory. Ordering store will manage everything related to ordering. Ordering item, order items, these things, that thing. Shipping store will manage everything to shipping. So when you create this bounded context, then it becomes much easier. But sometimes it's also very hard to come up with a bounded context because you need to understand the domain that you're working on. All right. If you don't understand the domain, if you don't understand the business, then it's going to be very hard to come up with a bounded context. And yes, if you're thinking, hey, how can these stores talk to each other? Yes, they can talk to each other. And I have a separate article for that, which I believe is somewhere this one. Effective communication between observable stores. So this will give you a couple of different ways that stores can talk to each other. Maybe there's a store about user store and a user adds a dependent as their medical insurance dependent, and then as soon as a dependent is added, the insurance store needs to update their premium. See that? So these kind of events you can actually capture when you have communication between these different stores. So those can actually happen. All right. All right. So next time you're building an app, the best way to learn about this and to get a feel for it is to create a very simple application. Just create an application that can list products and allow you to add a product, and create it using MVVM, create it using MV, create it using Viper, create it using whatever, and then compare. Which one do you find the easiest one? All right. There's also container pattern also. In container pattern, well, you just access the HTTP client directly in your view. And that is perfectly fine too. Nothing wrong with that. Because HTTP client is simply getting you the data and maybe adding some more data, but it doesn't really have any business logic. So that's fine. All right. Questions? I am in the process, by the way, of writing a book about all of this. It's still in the works. It will be called SwiftUI Architecture something. I have been working on it for some time now, but it's still not done. I'm working on, a lot of different chapters. I'm still working on them. I hope to release it. I don't think it's going to happen this year. Even if I work a lot, it's probably not going to happen. But it will be released maybe early part of next year. So that will be available to you. All right. For purchase, you can purchase that book. But I'm still working on it, so it's a long way to go. So all of these ideas plus more will be mentioned in the book, will be covered in the book. All right. Any other questions? If you have questions, you can write it out on the chat. And one of the things is, when I started talking about this, and I always tell you the story, when I started talking about this like MV pattern and this way of building apps, that was probably in 2022, right? And fast forward 2025, we can actually see, we can actually see a lot of people talking about it, right? I mean, there are so many articles now that are online where people are talking about it, like I think it was SwiftUI MVVM 2025. I think there are, this one, Thomas wrote this article, SwiftUI to forget MVVM. So there are so many different articles that are available that are following kind of like the same message that I'm giving you over here. But in the end, it is up to you, like this, to read these articles, watch the videos, and then try to decide that which one works for you. You can see now every time that these things are just popping up. All right. But if you go back in 2022, you're not going to see these articles. Nobody was talking about it. All right. So that's always kind of interesting to see that how things are kind of developing and how things are changing. All right. So that is pretty much it. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. If you want to learn more, you can always go to adamsharp.school. MV for prototyping, MVVM for enterprise. No, MV for enterprise. I would say that. MVVM, if you're following the classical approach for MVVM, you're going to end up with so many different view models that it will become almost impossible to reason about any of that stuff. All right. Okay, so if you do want to learn more about, as you can see, adamsharp.school, I have a course over here which is SwiftUI architecture patterns and best practices. But I also have a code that I can give you if I can find it. This one, SwiftUI architecture, and I can actually share this somehow. I don't think I can share it. Okay, I can. Yeah, The coupon code, I think you can probably write it down. But let me actually share the link. What is the link? Link to the course. There we go. That's the link to the course. All right. And I believe the coupon code is this one. Live stream 10/03/2025. All right, so this coupon is available. It expires in 24 hours. So you can definitely check out this course. The link is right there. And, check out azamsharp.school. I mean, I'm hosting a lot of workshops. The next workshop that is coming up is on October 24th, and we're going to be talking about Swift data architecture. So we're going to cover all the fundamentals, relationships, testing, CloudKit integration. So we're going to do that. Now, if you are already an Azam Sharp Pro member, then you get all the workshop for free anyways. All right. So if you want to sign up for the member, that's fine. You get all the workshops. This will be the last workshop for the year, and then I'm going to come up with some new workshop for the next year, 2026, for foundation models, for a reality kit, and all of that cool stuff. All right. So definitely you're going to enjoy those workshops. These are 3-hour long workshops. So these are very immersive and on Zoom. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And I really enjoyed it. And hopefully you have enjoyed it. So thank you so much. And we can do this sometime in the future also. Thank you.